Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Filbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Filbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Filbar.
Welcome to session Fartook-97. Previously on the Bard's podcast, our party of heroes were involved in a chase through the winding streets of Fort Myers in an effort to catch a cloaked subject believed to be involved in the murder of Hagrid Toulouse. The pursuit ended as the cloaked figures ran into the home of investigator Rockfist and her mother, named Mama. A brief fight ensued with the matron and the cloaked figure and ended tragically when a magical bolt of lightning from a wand was sent towards Mama Rockfist but ricocheted back at the figure. We rejoin everyone in the kitchen of the Rockfist domicile. The guards dragged the smoldering body of the cloaked figure out back where Metallica, the unicorn, was present. Fargus helped move the body out as the others explained to Sister Elaine and the Rockfist women what had happened. So, as you see, it's really a rather simple explanation, stated Lady Irena to the three females who stood drinking moonshine out of a jug. Mama Rockfist turned to her daughter and began to lambaste her. "You always say your job is boring. You call this boring? Did I raise you to be a liar to me?" Rockfist began to object and the room went silent. The exasperated investigator finally just threw up her hands and pointed out, "Yes, this is what I do every day, Mama. You're right. It's exciting." The elder dwarf took on a smug air and ordered everyone into the kitchen. "You're all probably quite hungry, so get in here and find a seat." The assembled individuals looked at each other but quickly grabbed chairs after Mama yelled, "Now!" A short time later there was a knock on the rear door and Mama Rockfist answered it. The watch commander apologized for the intrusion at the late hour and inquired if his investigator was present. She opened the door wider and exposed the 4 guards and adventurers, each consuming some spicy soup. The commander shook his head and appeared to get angry, but held back as the elder dwarf looked for a rebuke. The man cleared his throat, fighting back his anger, and advised the 4 guardsmen to return to their posts after thanking Mama Rockfist. They snapped to and immediately did as they were told before making a hasty exit. Shaking his head, he looked over at the adventurers and wondered why they were still causing a problem. After taking a bowl of soup, he sat down and inquired how much more trouble the party would be causing. Mama Rockfist pointed out that the individuals had saved her from the intruder, but the commander politely cut her off, pointing out that the faceless woman was the least of his problems. The man went off on a litany of complaints, including a large-scale tavern brawl, a mess in the streets, and 2 of his guards being turned into toads for a short time. Sister Elaine was stunned and also queried her associates. Wiping a spot of soup off his chin, Fargus confirmed the account and offered a very solid and articulate explanation of the events that had transpired in the past hour. His account was quite detailed and appeared to pacify the commander, who was also enjoying the spicy soup. Finishing his cup, he politely kissed Mama Rockfist's hand and announced it was late in the day and perhaps the Delvers should go to bed and leave the night shift to have an easy time of it. The group promised to return to their quarters and would meet with Investigator Rockfist in the morning to help further the investigation. Agitated, but too tired to argue, the commander left and the heroes also apologized at keeping such a late hour. They thanked Mama Rockfist for the meal and her kindness, who was expressing sorrow that she had gotten involved in the matter. The group left the residence and began to head to bed when they realized they had no quarters to go to. They grabbed Metallica the unicorn and returned to the stables and asked if there was anywhere they could stay. One of the nearby guards listed several locations. However, one was where Bolger had the fight, and the other was where Meebles was the innkeeper. The party then headed off down the main road and located the only other inn available in the community. The location had a bit of a smell to it, but appeared otherwise clean. The group was able to get 2 rooms at opposite ends of the hallway on the first floor. After surveying the chambers, the group split up and quickly fell asleep in their respective rooms. The next morning brought loud noises outside the chambers, as workmen were apparently in the midst of adding onto the small wasp inn. Tired and aching from the evening's activity, the group came out to the common room only to discover that there were no meal services available. Sauntering out into the community, the group followed their noses to a small tavern not too far away. Bustling with activity, the party found a freshly vacated table in the center of the room. Heaping plates of food were delivered, and the group discussed their options, filling in Sister Elaine on some of the minor details that the watch commander didn't need to know about. Everyone felt that Meebles was probably the best source of information, especially with the other party's face shattered beyond notice. After consuming a filling breakfast, they headed over to the gulag and were summarily brought into a dingy room with several corpses, including Hagrid and the faceless individual. Investigator Rockfist was wearing a blood-covered gown and had already taken liberties with both corpses. It was clear that she had been hard at work for several hours already. After thanking the party for coming back, she explained her findings to them. She was convinced that Hagrid had been poisoned, but was unable to ascertain the direct nature of the toxin or its delivery system. Moving to the faceless individual, she pointed out several interesting items she had discovered. In the webbing of the left hand, she showed the party a set of tattoos. Of the group, only Karina recognized the items and pointed out that several unsavory individuals in Phoenix had the same design. Rockfist pointed out that the tattoos were indicators that the woman had been an assassin, and probably a seasoned one at that. Several items were present on a small table near the cloaked figure, and Cabe began to look them over. The investigator pointed out that there wasn't much except for the sheaf of papers, which the bard quickly opened and gasped audibly. The others looked for him to continue, but he just stood slack-jawed at the documents. The dejected-sounding dwarf shook her head and pointed out that she too was saddened by the letters. The half-elf stood silently, unable to speak, and Lady Irena reached out and grabbed the papers. The others gathered in and around her, and each gasped as they observed likenesses of themselves on the papers, with their name at the base of the page. Rockfist took the papers as a pall fell over the group. "Yes, I'm afraid they know what you look like. You'll have to be extremely careful from here on out." Cabe finally got over his dismay and found a small leather notebook present. The entries were all written in code except for a word scratched on the back cover. I wonder what this one means. Phantasm. As soon as he uttered the final word, he jumped and began to smack at his pants. Tucked away in the front pocket was the wand of wonder he had taken from the faceless one on the previous night. As the bard opened his pocket, a stream of butterflies flew out and filled the room for nearly a minute. Without warning, the small bugs disappeared in a puff of smoke, and the group looked over to the laughing dwarf. "I thought it might be a command word, and I had forgotten about the wand," giggled the investigator.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Filbar, thanks for listening.